Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. I'm wondering today whether or not we should start to look at domestic violence a wee bit differently and refer to it as domestic terrorism. We need to evaluate the number of people that are impacted by domestic violence, and that is not just the women and the families who lose somebody because a violent man chooses that the only alternative for him is to murder the person that he professes to love or that he particularly wants to control. So, should we call it domestic terrorism? The answer for me is yes. When we look at the number of people that have died, so if we look at currently, there are 28, 29 women who have died this year as a result of domestic terrorism, then that number on itself, if it was performed by a jihadist, if it was performed by somebody who had some sort of religious background or some religious understandings that dominated and controlled the way they behave, then we certainly would refer to it as terrorism. Now, terrorism comes in many forms, as we know, but domestic terrorism is about terrorism which happens at home, which is homebred, which is something that we all should at least be able to have some element of control over. We should be able to limit those people that have been identified with domestic violent behaviours to, to at least ensure that the community is safe by locking them up. We certainly are a bit anal about those people who are immigrants, who are asylum seekers, who are then released and then commit a crime. And what we want to do is to keep them locked up forever, it appears, or particularly when we're unable to deport them. So what do we do about our domestic terrorists? Well, I think it's about time we start to look at the situation a wee bit differently and to ensure that our community is safe, that people who will continue to commit these crimes, the people who are not rehabilitatable, the people where recidivism seems to be the way to go. These people are the people that we particularly need to make sure are locked up and are not returned back to the community, because it is these people who will eventually kill somebody else. So we need to be just as adamant about the importance to keep our communities safe as we are about those people who are asylum seekers, who are released, who do commit a crime. The crimes that these domestic violence people commit, these domestic terrorists commit, is extreme as it gets. And I'm going to cite an example of one particular person just to make this case, I think. And this is a report that was in the Sydney Morning Herald in relation to a particular individual who had committed a crime. And I'm just going to run through just quickly some of the crimes that he'd committed and ask you the question, is this someone that needs to be or should be released? The possibility of rehabilitating him is so remote. Is it worthwhile taking that likelihood of him recommitting an offence, which is more horrific than anything that he's done? And some of the stuff he's done is pretty damn horrific. So is it worth him being released into our community again? Now, my answer to that at the moment is no, it isn't. But I'll be interested to know what you think. So here's the dude. And it's Inside the Warped Mind of a Serial Domestic Violence Offender is the name of the article. Donald Fink told a psychologist he respects women. Well, firstly, he lied, and his behaviour indicates that he doesn't. That statement came 35 days before the 30-year-old was jailed for locking his ex-partner inside a home in the state's north and unleashing 3 days of hell. When his victim tried to leave the secluded home in the small town of Garaki, he stood at the front door and pushed her, document released by the New South Wales District Court reveal. When she tried to defend herself, he told her to stand up and fight like a man. What a moron. He dragged her to the bedroom and locked the door. In the days that followed, he rarely let her use the toilet. When he did, he followed her and kept the door open. If she used her phone, he took it. He threatened to chop up with an axe. After nearly 72 hours of relentless degradation and abuse, the woman found a small window of time to shower as her captor slept. When he awoke, he grabbed her by the hair and dragged her along the ground for daring to wash without him. Again, he told her to fight like a man. I tell you what, if it was a man that he was fighting with, the man probably would have killed this dude by this point. Last month, Fing was sentenced to 8 years jail after a New South Wales District Court jury found him guilty of 2 weeks domestic violence attack against a woman, as well as the 3 days of captivity from October the 4th to 2021. This included punching her to the head, headbutting her from behind, and burning her arm with a cigarette. He threatened to kill her multiple times. When he hit the woman in the face with a bottle in a car, causing a split ear, she walked down the street to seek medical help. Fing drove beside her and told her to get the fuck in the car or I'll chop you up. She did what he said. Fing, who also goes by the name Donald Daly, was arrested on October the 18th, 2021, while on parole for dangerous police pursuit. He has been in prison since. A 12-year-old criminal history reveals an escalating severity of DV's offences, peppered among driving, property drugs, weapons and other violent offences. But no court-ordered DV rehabilitation programs appeared to have worked for this man, because his sense of superiority, his sense that he can do no wrong, that he is right, that he needs to control these women, is so ingrained that nothing seems to change that. So my question to you is that if a person has committed all these offences, is released, is not rehabilitated, is it possible? Is there a shred of possibility that he will kill somebody when he leaves? The answer and the history around some of these guys is yes, he will. He's likely to commit a horrific offence, and maybe not just with a woman, but perhaps with her children, if she has children as well. So I think that we need to be able to identify people like him as domestic terrorists. And as such, we need to ensure that they are locked up forever, because the risk to the community of them being released is so high that, who's going to take responsibility if he gets released and he kills somebody else? And we had the opportunity to be able to incarcerate him for as long as it's needed so that he doesn't. Well, I'd be interested to know what you think, and particularly just put a comment down below if you've got a view around all of this. I can't understand how anybody would possibly, in their right mind, agree that what this guy is doing is appropriate, because it clearly isn't. But let me know in the comments below as what you think about domestic terrorism, and if some of these people who commit domestic violence offences should be placed in that particular category. Again, let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications, and let me know what you think. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, as I always say, be safe.